Press Start Podcast.
And welcome back to the Press Start Podcast. I'm your host Vic, aka Mr. Never Chillin'. This is episode number 150. And I do got Scott, aka Scopy One this week.
It's me.
I love it.
I'm Scott. I'm AKA Scobie One. How is everybody doing tonight?
And on the other side, we got Roger, aka Lunatic Oblivion, as he loses his shit over my fumbling.
As you
My
see,
man's like, I just restarted mentally. He just rebooted in front of all of us.
just plays the Windows reboot, the reboot sound. As you can tell, we have an action-packed episode because Nick is just so nervous to even talk about it. He's just so excited he couldn't get.
I'm
the
definitely
words
excited.
out.
Definitely super excited for this week's episode, man, because we got a lot to
excited.
talk about, man, for sure. I got Roger stuck on the screen. You know, we had to showcase his beautiful face. He's been away, I think, last week. So we just wanted to showcase his smile. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and talk about what we've been playing over the last week, and in this case for you, Roger, 2 weeks. I'm going to have you actually kick it off with your game, and I want to actually talk about Stalker 2, because you have an interesting story behind playing Stalker 2.
Yeah, Stalker 2 made me buy a new graphics card. I decided I was done trying to get Stalker 2 to run on my 2070 Super, so I bought myself a 4070 Super or TI Super because I was done. I walked around the game. I was like, oh, my frames are good, and then all of a sudden it would just be like, and that was it. The game would just stop playing, and then it would go one frame every 4 seconds, and I was like, that is 1/4 frame rate, and by that I mean 1/4 of a frame per second.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. But overall,
Yeah,
it's been
no.
playing much better with the new GPU.
Yeah, it still has its issues. Every so often you run into the memory leak issue that they currently have in the game.
Mhm.
But I don't regret buying the graphics card for it because honestly the game's pretty fun. I think the biggest issue is the game has some of its content just feels so sparse. It doesn't feel flushed out per se in some of the areas.
Mhm.
So overall, though, game's not like noteworthy for game of the year, but it is a good game. I would definitely say as a AA game, it puts itself decently in the 80-90% range. It's no Space Marine 2, but
Mhm. No, I definitely
Now,
understand.
Roger, was that you that did you post in a Discord the FPS change that you had when you bought your graphics card?
no.
Because I remember seeing that. Okay, so you weren't the only person that had also had to go get a new graphics card just because of the demand of this game. So it's interesting to see that this is hitting
Yeah,
other people as well.
I was so over it. I was like, man, I'd like to play the game today.
Right. Yeah. And thank goodness, like, obviously this was on Game Pass. It's not like you spent money, but like this
Yeah.
game had enough draw to you that you really wanted to play that it was worth going to get that new GPU. But we also
Yeah.
got to put into perspective, obviously, if for those who don't know, this game was made in like the worst circumstances possible, being made over in Ukraine, dealing with the Russian-Ukraine war, and like some people actually left the studio and go and fight in the war specifically.
Died.
So yes, some people died in the studio. Like there's a whole documentary that Xbox helped them put out to talk about what they went through in development, stuff like that. So like I don't want to give them like, oh well, you had a shitty life to make a game, but like we got to think about those things.
But at the same time, they had a shitty
Yeah.
like. At the same time,
Yeah, so shout out to them for being able to still put out seems like a very solid game that I definitely want to.
Oh, agreed, definitely.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about you, Scott. Not in so much for multi or single player games this week. A lot of multiplayer games or just proper poopers for you. But any dubs in Warzone or PUBG?
yeah, I got 2 dubs in Warzone, and I think I got 2 or 3 in PUBG over the last week.
Okay.
Yeah, those were my night enders. If I was sitting here playing, just kind of doing a whole bunch of nothing before bed, I'd get a win and be like, "Well, that's it," and just power down.
End on a dub.
Yeah, I'm not going back in because the matchmaking is gonna be fucking awful. Much as it was last night when I had one game where I had 10 kills in solo Resurgence. Nothing crazy, just 10 kills. But I made it to I think I got like 3rd place, and then after that, fucking sweats. Just
Sounds about right.
I was drenched from the amount of sweat that was coming through my fucking screen from these gross ass motherfuckers.
Yeah,
I was
welcome
like,
to
"Yeah,
SEAL
it's
Team
so-"
6.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. Welcome to Delta Force, newbie. Like, get out of here. So I just hopped over to PUBG and then got my ass kicked in that, and then went to bed.
You're like, you know, this ain't it for me tonight. No, that's honestly how I've been feeling about Black Ops 6 multiplayer. Like, I literally will not play multiplayer in a solo lobby because I will be drenched in sweat because how hard you have to play in those lobbies. When I play in friends lobbies, it's probably like the most fun I've had in a Call of Duty game in a long time. So nonetheless, like, and then like I've just been working on like leveling guns, and I'm at a point now where I'm like using SMGs, which I don't usually play with, so they're a little bit harder for me to play. So I was like, no one's on. I'm gonna go grind them out in
Challenge.
zombies. I'm just gonna go to zombies and max out these guns level and come back and then and play later. But yeah, I mean, multiplayer in zombies to me is so fun. I'm really excited for the new zombie map, which comes out in 4 days. So me and Roger, I know me and you are gonna be hopping in and getting to that Easter egg. And obviously moving the story along because the story's getting crazy because like they're connecting the dots between like the Black Ops zombies, Vanguard zombies, and then going back to Black Ops 4 zombies. So it's like tying in a whole bunch of loose ends and storylines that were never meant to cross over, but here we are in the multiverse of the zombie world. But let's go ahead and talk about another couple games here on my list. I was in the midst of beating games because I'm at 51 out of 52 for this year, and I did beat the Plucky Squire game. This one was really awesome. Scott, I kind of talked about when I first started it last week, but this is like one of those like it's a storybook, but then you get forced out of your storybook, so then like you're in the real world and you can run around. But like this guy like is taking over your book, but he's also going to other books and stealing like metal and magic and different items from all these other books, and like you're just trying to get back into your book and then save your book and whatnot. But yeah, overall, really phenomenal experience, and just like how fluid it is to go in and out of the book because like some parts in the book you have to leave your book to then do mess with like you can fold the book in half, you can flip pages and then like go in on another page to then come out on the other side. Like it's a pretty unique game, really enjoyable experience. Highly recommend. It's only like $29. It's an indie game. Yeah, but yeah, definitely highly recommend that. Another one here on my list is Astro's Playroom. Roger, I did get the PS5. Me and Scott kind of talked about it last week, and obviously Astro's Playroom comes bundled with the PS5, which you should know because you have a PS5 as well.
hmm
And I finally got the play through that game and beat it. Obviously not that long of a game, like 2-3 hours. Pretty solid experience, and has me kind of excited to eventually check out Astrobot, which we're going to talk a little bit later on. We're going to talk about it a lot because it's on a lot of other parts of this show. But yeah, overall, great experience there. But enough of me. I got a couple other games to get to, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. Roger, you continued your playthrough on Dead Island 2, obviously with Disney Princess. Playing through that, how's that playing? Is it still getting tedious and repetitive, or how are you feeling on it?
Yeah, I'm kind of part of the game where it it's dragging a little bit. I want to beat it. It's not like I'm done playing it, but I'm definitely done walking around in the walking simulator part. Like I'm just gonna objective done.
That makes sense. So
It's a fun game though.
it's overstaying its welcome at this point.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like so the story beats kind of just like flatlined.
Yeah, like honestly the story it's all right. It's not like I'm like, "Oh, I hate this story," but it's like
Nothing there to like
the
keep you going
side
and push you.
missions aren't really that they're not that great.
Are they
They're
are
all
they
right.
are they better than Dying Light 2's?
What's Dying Light 2? I don't remember that. I'm that
So it is better.
gone.
So it is better than
I
Dying Light 2.
I don't know what Dying Light 2 is. Let's not talk about a game that should never exist in my memory.
Never heard of her.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, fade to black,
What it
guys.
feels like.
But yeah, all right, yeah, that's pretty dope to hear. All right, Scott, let's talk about Pokemon. Obviously, you've been playing some Pokemon Go, but the big one, newest one, is the TCG Pocket. How's your collection coming along? You still playing some battles as well?
Yeah, I'm doing some battles. There's a Venusaur drop going on right now
Mm-hmm.
for the solo battles, but just like last week, it's a good proper pooper. It's my favorite proper pooper because just get on there, open some packs, and run out of packs, and that's it.
Yeah, move
Get
on.
the fuck, get the fuck up,
Fun.
flush, and I'm done. But it's fun while you're playing it. It's just in between, like the whole driving force behind the game is, you get the packs, you open the packs, you collect the cards. but you can only open so many packs, and if you want to
Unless you
open more,
spend
like
more
you can
money.
do some missions, but there's not really, other than unless you level up, like there's really not enough to keep you opening packs.
Mhm.
So it just becomes a waiting game.
Yeah.
It was particularly hard in the beginning just because it became a waiting game, and you're like, well, what can I do while I wait to open a pack? Oh, I guess I can go battle like with these half shit decks that that I can't fucking use, or I can
And
try
then
to
a
build
whale
one,
walks
or
into your lobby, and you're just
yeah,
like,
and then
"Wow, I hate this."
yeah, and then somebody who doesn't have to redirect their money like I do can just walk into the lobby and automatically just pull out a fucking U2 EX on the first turn because fuck my life. Um, but all that to be said, it is still pretty enjoyable. Um, I'm anxious to see what they're gonna do to kind of make it more like, it feels like there's no production in the game. Like, you just go, you open your packs, you're done with your packs, you close the game.
Yep.
Like there's nothing there to like really drive you unless you just get fucking rock hard for versus matches. Um, that's there's really nothing else there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm just
the
curious to see what
missions,
they could add because like it's
I
just a
don't
trading
know at
card
that
game, you
point.
know. And
I mean, trading and all that good stuff, maybe, but even then, it's just that's what it becomes. It just becomes just another kind of humdrum card game.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think if they
but
had like certain events like maybe add gym battles or something like that, like something that sticks along the lines of Pokemon, that'd be pretty
yeah,
cool. Or just have
it,
like
it
multiplayer battles, like more than just two people going head to head, like Magic does, like in like Commander and whatnot. So there's
yeah.
definitely other ways to reinvent the wheel, I guess, for Pokemon, but I think it would work. But
But with all that to be said, it is enjoyable. It's fun. It's the good proper pooper that I needed to be. I go in and open my packs and that's it.
I'm not gonna lie, I
I
love when
feel
that notification comes through, like your pack stamina has
yeah.
recharged, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, I can
Yeah,
open a new
yeah,
pack."
absolutely. Hey, it's time
and
for your daily
and
dose of
it's
serotonin.
so
Like, here you
disappointing when you
go,
open the pack and it's all cards you already have. You're like, "Well, that
man.
sucked."
I don't, dude. So, since we last spoke, I'm trying to do the deck building missions, right?
Hmm.
Um, because I want to be able to, build all the decks. Say I got all the decks, all that good stuff. What was it, man? I tried real fucking hard to get. I needed a Moltres for my Charizard EX deck,
Hmm.
and that was it. And I tried getting it in a wonder pick, didn't get it in a wonder pick, and it was a rare wonder pick too. So it was like an
Hmm.
arcane. It was like Arcanine EX, Charizard,
Charizard,
and then
yeah,
Moltres. And I'm like, yeah, this could be great. Like, let's see. Fucking did not get that shit like 4 times in a row, and I was like, all right, whatever. I'm like, we're done. So I go in.
Fuck this
Moltres is like
game.
100.
I'm
Yeah,
done.
Moltres is like 150 pack points. So
yeah.
I just bought I had like 175 or something. So I just grabbed it out of the lineup. Let me tell you my next 3 packs that I opened.
I had
Moltres.
Moltres.
Moltres EX, Moltres, in that fucking order. I was like, you've got to be shitting me, dude.
So you
I
just
was like,
wasted all
you've
those
got to
pack
be
points
like
on a card.
wasted all those pack points, and I got 3 of the motherfuckers.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
you've
rough.
got to be shitting me, dude. But now I'm like 217 cards out of my 220 for
I
that
think
final.
I think they should
Uh,
like if you have like a 30 of the same card, you should be able to trade them in for pack points or something along those lines. And
Dust them.
because I don't
Most
really care
card games
about
allow you to dust.
like I don't really care about
well,
making them
yeah.
flashy looking. Like I don't care about making the car aesthetically look better. Don't care. I want to collect the rest of the damn set.
Look, I love a maxed out Wooloo as much as the next guy, but I think there's some other things that could be dealing with all 37 of them. Especially considering the only ones I really care about are my super rare ones, which I have like
Or
5 or less.
allow trading. Like,
Well,
there's
so
still
they're
no
bringing
trading
it's
that
right.
being
in. They're,
added,
they're,
yeah.
they're going to be bringing that in.
But it's not here yet.
Right,
It's
that's
not
a
here
problem.
yet. But I don't think I'm going to be able to strong arm some random stranger online for 17 Wooloos to get like, I don't know, maybe like a holographic fucking Gengar.
Oh, you
I don't.
just you just start trading, a bunch of the stuff they need to complete their collection is the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's gonna
You
come in
you
handy.
give them like 20 different cards, and because you got an extra Moltres, you're like, all right, let me trade this shit off, right? Like
I'm gonna walk in
you
there.
don't need a 5th one.
I'm gonna walk in. I'm gonna walk in there like Seto Kaiba to Yugi's granddad and be like, "Look, I will give you all of this
for that one card.
I just need a Mankey to get my Machamp deck. Please, just give me the freaking Mankey. I don't care.
How many cards did you say you're in the set so far?
I'm at 217 out of my 220
Damn.
for the
226, yeah.
for the registration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
Something
at
like
190.
that. I would open it up. I
I'm
would
at
open it up right now,
195.
but it's nothing but Wii music. It's nothing but Wii lobby music.
Yeah, we'll get copyrighted instantly because Nintendo's on a
yeah,
lawsuit
we'd get shut
binge.
down in about 30 seconds.
Which I heard you streaming the music.
Nintendo would send me, my wife, and my daughter a cease and desist. Like, wait, wait, what?
But wait, you're you're sued.
All right.
It was inspiration.
So let's talk about some other games here. We could talk about Pokemon all night long, obviously. But Roger, you've been playing some Europa before. How's that been going for you?
I haven't played Europa in forever, so I decided to pick it back up. And God, it's like like playing Civ 6, dude. Just one more turn. Just one more turn.
5 a.m. later.
Yeah. Last night I was like, oh, I got home off the train. I'm sitting here. I'm like, oh, what do I want to do for the day now that Jordan and everyone's gone? All right, I'll play. You know, I want to play this. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wait, it's 7:00? What? I'll spend 5 hours on this. Where'd they go?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was just lost. I was so flabbergasted.
So at least
I
it's
spent
good
that
though.
much
Like,
time.
it's not like one of those games where it feels like it's dragging, where like you literally lose track of the time when you're playing this game.
Oh yeah,
It reminds
I
me
was
like when we used to play zombies back in the day. Like you start a match and like 7 hours later you're like, oh, I'm in trouble. I gotta go to
Oop.
school tomorrow.
Why am I still here?
Yeah, so yeah, it's awesome to hear. All right, just two more here on my list. I'm talking about Chance of Sonar was another game that I played through and beat. This one was pretty interesting. I kind of used a guide because like I don't know if either one of you guys have played this game, but like
What a cheater!
there's a lot of like symbols and you have to figure out the language of each symbol, and I'm just like I don't really have
What
time
a
to
fucking cheater, dude.
slowly figure that out.
Take all the fun out of the job.
So I plugged it in. Eventually beat the game. 6-7 hours later, did get all of the achievements in this game as well. So.
Oh, I
shout out
wonder
to-
why, cheater.
Go ahead and put an asterisk next to that. You're at 50,
On the back.
you're at 50 out of 52.
Yes.
You're
No,
at
it was
50 out of
crazy.
52.
I was two when I beat the game and finished credits rolled and everything. I went to look at the achievements. I was like, I have 2 achievements left, and I had to I guess fuck up the disguise, which I thought I did because I just threw on something, ran out, got immediately attacked and died, and I was like, okay, cool. Eventually figured that out because I didn't use like a guide for like all of like the puzzles and stuff like that. It was literally just figuring out the glyphs, and didn't get the achievement, so I just went back and did that. And then it didn't give me certain pages for me to finalize the language, I guess, on the fortress level. So I just went back there and I had to do something to trigger the page to pop up, but I already had all of the glyphs already done. So I just had to trigger the page, put them in the right ones, and then boom, got all the achievements. And I was like,
Just had to cheat in
Man.
the correct order.
yeah, I had to cheat in the right way or click on everything as I was supposed to, I guess. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a pretty interesting experience, especially like the story and like how it gets all tied together, and especially because like you could have beat the game one way by like just completely skipping out on the official ending. Roger, I'm not sure. Did you beat this game then? No, you just okay. So, but you know exactly what it is. But there's 2 endings. Like you can just it's called the default ending, and then you don't really beat the game. But there's like one that you end up tying like all loose ends together, and then you get the official ending. And that one, I'm glad I did that way because it was definitely very, very satisfying. If I would have ended it the other way, I would not have been satisfied at all. But yeah, overall fun experience, Game Pass game. But that was game number 51 that I did beat. But last game I want to talk about here on my list is Helldivers 2. Finally picked that up today. And just got through the tutorial because I know a couple friends like you, Scott, want to play it. My friend Jamal wants to play it as well. Roger, I'm not sure if you'd be interested in picking it up, whether it's for PC or your PS5, but it's crossplay
How
regardless.
much is it? That's the problem.
It was, I know I just got it on sale for $30. It's regularly like 40 anyway, so it's nothing too crazy.
Yeah, it's $32. Hell, I might even get it.
But I mean, because I know you were a big fan of like Starship Troopers when
Mhm.
when I dropped. It's basically the same game more or less. But yeah, but a lot of obviously like the meta gaming, like outside of it, like on social media and them like talking to you on Twitter and stuff, it's pretty cool. But yeah, man, that's all I've been playing. I mean, I have a couple of ones on the list. Don't really want to talk about. But any other games you guys wanted to talk about before we move on?
Not
All
this
right,
week.
cool. So let's go ahead and move on to the industry news. All right, let's see what we got here. So we got Xbox. This one's interesting because obviously we were told that there should be an Xbox mobile store as of November, but here we are December 1st, and there is no Xbox mobile store. And that is due to a court order delaying Microsoft's plans to allow games be purchased directly on the Xbox app on the Android. But then Google came out and was like, there's nothing prohibiting them from doing it. And they're like, this paper says we're not allowed to do it. So it's like Google says one thing, but the court says another thing. It's very, very interesting. But Roger, you got any thoughts on this app store coming to Android and what holding it up?
No, I just know that we're about to watch companies fight for a while like kids. It's gonna be goofy. It's gonna be a goofy time, my friends.
Yeah. Well, at least the governments have been like breaking up the monopoly that the mobile markets have, both like
Yes.
Apple and Android, where it's like there's only one app store on both of them, and you have to buy stuff through them, so they each get like a 30% cut, which is ridiculous to me. And obviously, all
Mhm.
of these other companies are like, yeah, we don't want to do that. We want to release our own app store, so we don't have to pay this 30% fees for absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
Doesn't make
it's
any
it's
sense.
like it's like if Microsoft made you buy everything through it
The
like
Microsoft
if they
store.
had made you buy everything through the Microsoft store exactly, and that would be wrong.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it than wrong.
Right. But it's just curious to see like what this will eventually do to say like the Xbox platform or the PlayStation platform or the Nintendo platform, because those are also monopolies when it
Hmm.
comes to the stores on that, because like people want to be able to access their Steam libraries on all of these platforms, but they can't. So that's obviously going to open up that, and we're just going to have to continue to follow all of this because this is going to be, like you said, an ongoing back and forth, a lot of people arguing and bitching and complaining for a long time until they figure out something. Any inputs got?
I think when it comes down to this, things like Android and Apple, they should be more than happy taking a back seat to a lot of these app stores and these play stores. Like it's when I think of how in a perfect world this would work, I think of things like Visa, who might have just recently got sued, or anybody else. So in my personal unprofessional opinion, this should work in a scenario where Android and iOS and stuff like that, they're just the rails. They're just the rails. And what I mean by that is think of like your debit card or your credit card system. Um, you have so many different companies who own the chip readers, things like that. But a set amount of companies really own the rails and the means for those purchases to exist. And they make a quick 1.5%, 2%, 3%, something like that. I think I think they're really missing out on a lot of money and a chance to just be the back end infrastructure for some of these other apps and app stores. Allow them to be there, allow the transactions to happen, and make the transactions possible. Take your quick 1.5%, fucking sit back, do nothing, and make money.
Right. It is like free money, print money, because they are literally
It's
just doing nothing but being the infrastructure. They don't do any
you're,
part of
you're
the process, and they're just making money.
yeah, you're not printing stacks, and you're not getting your hefty 30%, and you're not sitting on a beach like fucking circa Hans Gruber. Sure, but you're making your money, and you're allowing innovation on your platforms. Um, and I think that still when we have these stupid little pissing matches like this, um, if you gave a fuck about your consumer, this wouldn't be a problem.
Bingo. Can't say it any easier than that. Well, it's also there's so many court cases going on here, Scott. What's going on in the Ubisoft world? Because a lot of if you're not a consumer, if you're an employer, you're also not happy.
So I really, really wish that we could take like recordings of previous episodes where we had talked about this very same thing.
And just
And
splash it.
and just splash it over here and be like, previously on, and then just go in there, because I believe all three of us were in agreement when Ubisoft decided to make a return to office mandate, even though there were people with remote agreements and everything like that. And I believe we ended that little segment with good luck getting your fucking asses sued. So, in classic fashion, Ubisoft
They
is
got
getting
their
their
asses
asses sued.
Ah, damn.
So Ubisoft is getting their asses sued due to a return to work mandate that it's almost like we called it. It's almost like we called this stuff. But the unions for the AAA and the mobile teams are demanding that Ubisoft ensure protections for remote work and walk back the recent policy changes. Now, this, of course, is affecting not here in America, but this is going to be unions at Ubisoft Barcelona. And that's really where this is hitting a lot of. But the changes were announced back in September, and it mandated that all Ubisoft employees work in the office at least 3 days per week. But at the time, there was almost nobody in there, even 1 day a week. Under the old remote work policy, employees were able to choose up to 60% of their days to be worked remotely. There were also fully remote workers on staff that they tried to pull into the office. Like, what office do you want me to go to? I don't have an office. I'm fully 100% remote.
Right.
And so even if you already had prior full-time remote agreements, anything like that, Ubisoft said, well, sucks to suck. We'll see you fucking Monday, nerd. And they're getting their asses sued basically for this, and especially when their only real reasoning behind this was it was to enhance creativity and teamwork. Nothing will stop creativity and teamwork more than forcing people to be creative in a teamwork environment.
Right. They're gonna be miserable at work. Like, I don't want to be here.
Nothing will anger people more. So waiting to see how that's going to play out. Ubisoft has not commented on there, yet. But they did submit the proposal for the lawsuit on October 14th, so that's still very early, and just waiting to see. But like,
Yeah.
just if you're, we all know the real worry behind remote workers, right? And behind the push to get people back in the office is one, leadership doesn't trust their people to do their fucking job. Two, the company, whichever company, just place, that's a variable statement. The company has already spent the money on that building, or is currently spending the money on that building,
and not using
and
it.
they think that getting workers back in the office building that they're already paying for is somehow gonna make that money worth it.
Or just sell the building and not pay for it anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Get rid of the building. Like, why, if you have a building nobody's in, just take your loss, take the year lease, and then after that, don't fucking do it again. Because if there's one thing, and this is one of the very, very big pros of COVID and when the whole world shut down, is a lot of people have proven that a lot of these jobs can be done in sweatpants on your fucking couch. And it's a huge paradigm shift from kind of like the old way that people worked, especially
Boomer logic says it doesn't work though.
just about to say, just not to call out boomers specifically, but fucking looking at you boomers, they think that you can only be productive in one spot and one spot only, and that spot is firmly planted in your seat at work, which isn't the case. And a lot of times, I mean, we could get down in the nitty gritty and we could talk about this the entire time, all the way up to the end of the episode, but we're not gonna. But a lot of times, people are more productive at home. You have better internet connection at home. You're not sitting there on a fully allocated network with 600 other people sucking up your fucking bandwidth. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. There's a lot of small, minute details. But all of them point to remote work is the way it should be done at this point. If you're against remote work when your job can specifically be done remotely, you are you are wrong, and something about you is wrong, and something about your
A lot of time
mentality
it's
is
people that
wrong.
are upset that they have to go into work.
Well, and
That's what
well,
I
a lot.
find.
So I've actually found that a lot of times it's like, oh, it's just the people like us. It's the workers. You have to go on site every day. You have to go do this 3 days a week. Okay, where's upper leadership? Well, they
Working
have
from home.
they do a lot of meetings. So like, there's really no point in them being uh, on the job site as well. They don't need to be just because they have so many meetings. A lot of their stuff's done over the phone. All that can be done remotely. Remotely, you say? Shut up, go back to work. Like, that's basically it. It's just this is a rip and pull
Do as I say, not as I do.
between. Yes, it's 100% do as I say, not as I do, and this is a rip and pull between the old mentality of work and what was needed to do work, uh, versus
Yeah,
we have
I'm
newer
surprised
technology.
companies
We
aren't
have
looking
the
at this and like,
capabilities.
oh, we can save money by
Mhm.
by not
Mhm.
having to
I
pay
don't
for all of these
understand.
buildings and land and whatever you're doing.
It has to be like some sick fucking prank. Because from any outside perspective, you're like, hey, we have to pull everybody on site because we're paying for this building and we're paying for it for the next 11 months.
You're still going to
Okay,
pay for
then
the
stop
building if they're
fucking
there or
paying
not.
for it. Then stop fucking paying for it.
Yeah, they I
Stop
guess
paying for the fucking
somehow, yeah,
building.
like you said, somehow they're just thinking that by bringing the people back to work, it
It's
validates
it's
them paying for the
yeah.
building, but you still, the expense is still there regardless.
Yep.
So it's like I don't see it. But yeah,
The expense is
like you
still
said,
there. Plus,
we talked about this months ago, and one of the main points that I pointed out, I was like, how is this going to work when a lot of people that work remotely say live here in the United States but have to go into office in like Germany or something? Like, that's just not even going to happen.
it's people wanting feathers in their cap, saying I made sure that everyone was back to work, not giving a fuck about what it meant for the people that they're making go back to work.
Absolutely insane. And it says here that they said this all it creates logistical problems as offices aren't prepared to accommodate all the remote workers coming back to work at once.
Yep. And you better fucking pray that you don't have outdated switches. And you better fucking pray that you got some space on that switch. Like, it
And
just doesn't make
because
sense.
as we all know that companies also overstaffed during the pandemic because it was easy to hire people. You have a building that can only have 100 people, you're only going to have 100 people. Oh, you're remote workers, we can have 500
We can
people
have
now.
yeah, we can have 300 or 400 of you
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
and then now we need all 500 people come back to the office. Oh, wait, we can only have 100. What do we do for the other 400? Time to lay
Yep.
off some people.
Line up, nut the butts. But this isn't the only thing that Ubisoft has done recently that is a little fucked up. Now, I'm gonna put a disclaimer on this next part because there are reports that this is purely a rumor. MP First had reported originally that Ubisoft wanted Steam to remove concurrent player accounts. Uh, Speculative reasons being it basically showed their failures. This has been since been updated by the editor, Sam Shabazz, saying it seems that upon further investigation, this source is unreliable and has been known to cause controversy where there is none. While we are leaving the article up as a reference point, we would take anything said by the original source with a huge truckload of salt. But apparently, somebody and an insider at Ubisoft had said that Ubisoft was asking Valve to stop showing concurrent players, basically because it made them less attractive to investors because nobody was fucking playing their games.
I
I
mean,
would say, I would say,
actual.
I would say factual, and I would say I could see them doing that. If it eventually came out that this was like just a rumor and false, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. But if they're like, no, that source is verified, this is exactly what happened, or if somebody from Valve said, yeah, they got a hold of us to do that, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Their fucking game sucked, and they weren't getting money.
Yeah, especially because
Probably
they're
because they
looking
made
to
everybody
get
come back into work.
because they're also looking to be bought. Like we know the Ubisoft is in the market to be acquired. So obviously, when
They
stuff like this
failed
comes out,
enough.
no one wants to buy Ubisoft. Then if all of their games show to have like 1,000 players or less, and they're like, yeah, we're failing
Yeah.
miserably.
Yeah, so that's the current ongoing rumor, and I did want to put that disclaimer in there. That way, we're not just being like, "Hey, Ubisoft is doing this."
But the thing is, it doesn't go by me one bit that Ubisoft.
It doesn't.
It sounds like typical Ubisoft business.
It doesn't ring a bell, but it sounds like them.
Yeah.
You know, this is our current speculation on this. Once again, things we are saying are not fact
Yeah.
for all official reasons and intents and purposes. But that would not surprise me in the slightest if that was what was going on.
Yeah. So we're clearly not done here with court issues. IO Entertainment, known for like Hitman, pulls their Conor McGregor content from their Hitman game following the court ruling about his rape charges and the damaging fees that he had to pay, which was like $600,000. Yeah, I mean that sucks to see him get caught up on something like that, and then obviously it's going to impact him in many ways. But it sucks to see. On, I
My
mean,
man shouldn't have raped somebody.
yeah.
Like,
But I'm
sorry.
just so surprised that like if he got like charged with rape that he didn't go to jail. Like he just got like here's a $600,000 fine and he's good. And I'm just like
I mean,
it's like a
jail is
smack on
for
the
poor
wrist.
people.
It, I know.
Poor people and people who talk.
Yeah. And he has a lot of money. I'm pretty sure he's probably really close to $1 billion now at this point. But yeah, I wanted to highlight that real quick because obviously he's one of my favorite UFC fighters, like period. And obviously he's been on the cover of, like UFC 3 from EA, and obviously he was in Hitman, which was pretty interesting crossover there. But sucks to suck, but here we are.
I mean, yeah. Don't rape people, guys.
Yeah.
That's rule
That's the
number one.
Moral of the story here: don't rape. All right, man. So Roger, if you want to round us out here with
Yeah,
our
I
industry
thought, I
news,
thought that went without saying.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Like weird.
All right, Roger, round us out here with our last news topic for industry
So
news.
Tencent Games has acquired a new, a majority shareholder in Kuro Games. Kuro Games is a Chinese studio, so now they are the majority shareholder in this business. So we'll see what they do with it.
Just another
It's another thing they own.
Yeah, just another, like they're up to like too many. Like it's absolutely insane. I'm trying to think here, like what games Kuro has been involved with that I can.
Just want to see a picture of Tencent, just like Scrooge McDuck, like opening their vault, but instead of like hundreds of like gold coins, it's just all these other developers.
So they had,
just dives in every morning.
so they've only ever made 3 games: Twin Tail Battleground, Punishing Gray Raven, and Withering Waves. Um,
Oh yeah, all hits, every single one of them.
I know exactly each one of those games. Played them all. They're so good.
Yeah. That, honestly, 100% of them.
Maybe they're huge hits in like China that we just don't know about because like they could be mobile games and we obviously know how big the mobile market is. Maybe this is just Tencent trying to add on to their mobile category or catalog. But yeah, we'll see. All right, man. That's everything we got for the industry news. Let's go ahead and move on to the gaming news. All right, just a quick update for Xbox. This is actually one of their shortest weeks possible, and this isn't really much, but Xbox, for their games, Call of Duty has officially overtaken Fortnite as the most played game in the United States for the first time in what some were saying decades, but in many years, which I was surprised, honestly, with how big Fortnite is. And Fortnite just released their numbers that they have had the most concurrent players ever in a Fortnite time, and it was like 14 or 15 million players at one time. But shout out
So
to
it's
Call of Duty.
surprising, but it makes sense because this is also the first time that Call of Duty was immediately available day one of Game Pass.
Mhm.
So wondering if that had a bit to play in it.
Yeah, and obviously they released stats I think last week or 2 weeks ago that this is the most played Call of Duty, like hours, players, most everything. So obviously Call of Duty is here no matter what. Even if it's a dead game, it's never going to be a dead game at this point. All right, Roger, what's going on over in the PlayStation realm?
So PlayStation had some news here that Shuhei Yoshida is now leaving PlayStation in January. After more than 30 years with the company, he's going to be leaving.
That's crazy. Yeah, he started in 1993 when we were born.
Well, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Some of us.
Yeah, as
I
the
was-
report when the report originally came out, they were like he's like retiring from the games industry. He said that he's just leaving Sony, so he's retiring from Sony and then hopefully getting into a new endeavor, which is awesome to see. But it's just another head scratcher. Like, what is going over in the Sony world where like all of their
Nobody wants
important
to stick
people
around?
are leaving or retiring?
At that point, hey man, if the ship's going down, you got to jump. If you've been there, if you've been on that ship
I mean,
for
the
30
captain
years,
has already jumped. Jim
the
Ryan is
captain's
gone.
Captain's gone. But if you've been on that ship for 30 years and you're like, yeah, I have a pretty sweet retirement I could go do instead, I'm gonna go do that. You think I'm gonna fight for that ship anymore? No,
No,
that
not
ship's gotten
anymore.
enough for me.
So I'd be
No,
curious to see
sir.
what he moves on to and what he does. But appreciate all his hard work over in PlayStation for the last 30 years. All right, Scott, what's going on in the Nintendo realm?
Not a whole lot. For our viewers that are over in China, this is going to be some upsetting news for you, but the Switch eShop and the online services will be ending in China on March 31st, 2026. So you got a little bit of time to get everything you want from that, but after that date, you will no longer have that. You will no longer have the eShop or the online services for that.
Yeah, I wonder who pulled the plug on this because obviously Nintendo has partnered up with Tencent to bring the Nintendo Switch eShop in the online collaboration over there in China. So I wonder if this was a Nintendo thing or Tencent saying, "Hey, our agreement is over," because the Switch 2 comes out.
Yeah, it could easily be either or at that point. But with like you said, the Switch 2 coming out, everything like that, it just makes sense to just call that quits and get ready for the next gen.
Yeah. All right, Roger, I got you covering 2 games this week.
Too gay.
2
2K. All right, so 2K games as of November 18th of this year, the 2K launcher is gone. So they will no longer be forcing you to use their launcher to play their games.
Thank God. I've never really used it per se, but I've heard really, really bad things behind the launcher. And obviously, we
mean-
know like a lot of launchers are pretty insuperior to Steam's launcher.
Everyone wants their own launcher. Like I don't get it, but it's like everyone has this sick fascination with the metaverse. Everyone wants their own verse.
Yep.
You know, the launcher verse.
Yeah,
The launcherverse, yes.
Thank you, MCU.
And thank you, Roger, for the episode title. Into the launcherverse.
All right, Scott, I got you covering one of probably the highlights of this week's episode with 8-Bit Dio.
Absolutely. So 8-bit Dio is just doing great things like they always have. But now they're doing a Bluetooth retro receiver for the PS1, the PS2, and Windows. And it's compatible with Xbox Series S controller, Xbox One Bluetooth controller, the Switch Pro, PS5, PS4 controllers, and it is $19 on Amazon. Can't think of anything better. That's a lot of bang for not a lot of buck. And who doesn't love that? I'm not sure. Yeah, $19.99. Who doesn't love it?
That has me excited.
these-
Honestly, I was thinking about grabbing it because playing the PS2 or even the PS1 with the new DualSense controller would probably be badass.
Yeah, like these
Probably play well.
guys are just hit after hit. These guys are just swinging and they are hitting it out of the park every time. Along with the PlayStation Retro Receiver, they're doing an Xbox Retro 87 mechanical keyboard. As if things couldn't get even weirder or cooler.
Right. This shit looks
So
dope.
they have, yeah, it's Bluetooth is 2.4 gigahertz, USB-C pre-order. Now this one, add $100 to that PS controller, but this thing looks sick. There's not a lot, but I do know of some people that want to play with mouse and keyboard on Xbox, just because of the way it feels, the extra mechanics you can get, a little bit easier on the hands. But these guys are they're making it possible.
They're doing the do.
They're
Ah.
doing the 8-bit do, and they are killing it every time. This thing looks sick. If I had an Xbox and I wanted a keyboard and mouse, this is where I would go. 100%. I would spend $120 on that.
It works with your PC. Go ahead and get it for your PC.
Yeah, but so I already have a $170 keyboard. Don't tell my wife. No, I bought this before.
I'm sure
we
she's
began
watching the
recording.
stream right now.
Yeah, she's an
lady
avid
friend
fan.
is in there. No.
She's an avid fan. No, I had this long before we got together. But if I didn't have a decent keyboard that I liked, this would be an option, 100%. Just because, even if there's other options that I think are just as cool, the other options don't give me a chance to continue to support these guys and what they do.
Yeah, Yeah,
They're
I
doing
mean, they've
some
been
cool
rolling
shit.
out a bunch of cool stuff over the past like
Yeah,
year at least, if not more. Obviously, since we've been doing this for the last 4 years, I mean,
yeah.
they're in there every few months with some new creative thing that just keeps the nostalgia just rolling.
Just psychopaths, and they're just mixing up just like the coolest shit that we can think of. I love it.
Hell yeah! All right, Roger, we finally got an update to one of the games I know you were excited for.
Yes, I was, but let's be honest, it has not been good from day one.
Yeah,
Sadly,
unfortunately,
City Skylines 2 is now delayed on console due to hardware limitations. Who would have guessed?
I'm really
Oh,
confused on like why every other game that's ever come out has no hardware limitations, but this game's like, we need top of the line stuff. The consoles that are there cannot run it. I'm like, but you're just a theme park game. You're not doing anything
Well, City
special.
Skylines is a city
Or
builder, and
city
it's
by yeah, city builder. Yeah. So
but
I'm gonna
not
say
only that, it's a crazy big city builder too.
Microsoft Flight Simulator exists,
Yeah, nope, 100%.
and I'm sure that's much bigger than City Skylines too.
But Microsoft, let's be honest here, Flight Simulator's been around since, before time itself.
No, yeah, for sure. But yeah, the new one just dropped, and it uses real world weather. Like if there's a hurricane about to hit Florida, you can go fly through said hurricane, and whatnot. So I mean, like, and it's a real world.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm just confused on their reasoning, saying that the hardware is very limiting. And this is the first that we've heard it, especially talking about the PS5 and the Series X. We know the Series S has been in the talks where it's very limiting, but like I can't, I don't believe this because and most developers can't even use these consoles yet to its full potential, but these guys have, and there's not enough. I don't know. I'm not buying it. That's just me. Like you said, there's been something wrong with this game since day one. All right, man. Let's talk about Humanoid Studios. This is a sad one here because I know I was excited for this one. No official stuff came out of it, but this was formed by ex Bioware veteran Casey Hudson. Their studio has now officially been shut down to funding issues. They were working on a new sci-fi IP, so sad to see that something that was trying to grow from mergers and you know the consolidation of the games industry. Another studio was supposed to come up with these veterans, fell through. Sad there. But Roger, what's going on in Tencent, man? We just can't seem to leave them alone.
I love Chinese knockoffs. How about you?
Oh, they're the best. That's why we got Pal World. I mean, did I say that?
Got him. Yeah, so Light of Mortaram is an open world survival crafting mechanical game where you fight literal machine monsters, machine animals that look oddly similar to, I don't know, Horizon Zero Dawn. uh Horizon Forbidden West. It's pretty nutty what they've done here. The Horizon series has been gotten a cheap knockoff open world survival crafting game because that's what everyone loves.
I
can't
am
wait.
guaranteeing this. We're going to say this now, as we said about Ubisoft. This will be a court case that happens in the future.
Oh yeah, we'll have the DCMA details next week. I'm certain we will have those details probably in a tweet by the end of the night.
It's so like mind-boggling, like even how similar the key art was. Let me see if I can find the someone put up an image where it just combined the key arts from both Horizon and that one. Let me see if I get it here. But yeah, I
Hey
just
man, can I copy your homework?
Yeah, just make it look a little different.
just a little different. And boy did
As
they
you can
do
see,
that just a little different.
as you can see, those characters are gunmetal gray, and our characters are just gray. No gunmetal involved. That would have been too close.
I'll just use this one for
Dodged
from
a
Reddit,
bullet.
but this isn't like the full one, but it clearly gives you just it's the same fucking game. Like you can't tell me any different.
Can we get Horizon Zero Dawn? No, we have Horizon Zero Dawn at home.
Corporate wants you to find the differences between these two pictures.
They're the same
literally
picture.
the same picture.
I'm
Oh,
like the
God.
whole entire games industry when this broke from Tencent was in like
Ah,
in shambles of like Are they for real? Like, is it April
For
1st?
real, for real.
Like,
Yes,
you
for
couldn't even have
real.
tried to change it up and make it look different in some way or form,
Yeah.
like change the art style or something.
It's
Fuck
like,
it,
dude,
make
you
it cell shaded or something. Make it look like Borderlands, I guess. Like, do something
idiots.
different.
It says Horizon on the picture. Wait, what? No, I didn't actually say it, but that just proves that you just fucking didn't take it off. Idiots. Idiots, idiots, idiots.
Man. All right, let's
Oh,
end out our
man.
gaming news though with a positive
Oh,
thing here with Baldur's Gate 3 here.
the most positive. So Baldur's Gate 3 is getting its biggest and lastest patch. I was gonna say finalist. I was gonna see what I could do,
Finalist.
but they're getting their finalist. So patch 8. It's set to release in 2025. They're gonna start stress testing in January. It's gonna be the biggest update that Larian is putting out for free 99, by the way, because that's how you're supposed to fucking do it, everyone else. And it is going to be their last update, as Larian says that they are going to move on to other Dungeons and Dragons related projects. So bravo on just the handling of this game in the first place and the things that they've given us after the fact, and nobody's had to pay a fucking dime for it. It's great. I can't wait to see what else those absolute psychopaths come up with. It's going to be great. But the new patch update, patch 8, is going to receive cross-platform multiplayer and cross-platform progression. So that's going to be super, super great for anybody who just kind of hop, skips, and jumps from one to the other. It's also going to have new animations, new spells and cantrips, new VFX, new summons. For anybody out there who is still just dying to play an Oathbreaker, it's going to have new lines for Oathbreaker Knights, and it's going to have new written reactivity for Oathbreakers as well. And Larian says it's also going to have a touch of home brewing. So interesting to see what is going to come out of that, because home brewing is really just anything but the kitchen sink, and sometimes the kitchen sink.
Well,
so-
Larion has done a whole DMing module in Divinity Original Sin,
Yes.
so
Yep. And they've just been
firing on all cylinders.
grabbing everything and giving us everything we want, even if we didn't know we wanted it at the time. But the last, but certainly not least, piece of this news is that we are going to have 12 new subclasses. So that's going to be one subclass for each class currently in the game.
That's cool.
It's awesome. It's huge, and they're just giving people just so many options to play this game as they want, and just always giving like just new interactions, new ways to play the game. So like with this update, you could really play this game for the next couple years and just most likely not play the exact same game. Quick rundown of those classes: Bard, you're getting College of Glamour; Barbarian, you're getting Path of Giants; Clerics, you're getting Death Domain; Druid, you're getting Circle of Stars; Paladins, you're gonna get Oath of the Crown; Fighters are getting Arcane Archer; Monks are getting Drunken Master; Rangers are getting Swarmkeeper; Rogues are getting Swashbuckler, which is gonna be fucking sweet; Sorcerers are getting Shadow Magic; Warlocks are getting Hexblade; Wizards are getting Blade Slinging, and that is it.
Can't forget the game still also has mod support, so
They're still doing mod support.
like I said,
They
this game's
actually
gonna be
racked
played
up.
for a very long time.
Well, they actually racked up. I think when I was looking at it, it was already like 3,000 separate mods that you could put in there for what they have. This game has been a case study in
On
how
what to do right.
basically on what to do right. This is a case study on how to release your completed game, not require pre-orders or DLCs, not require anything from the consumer other than them to just play it and have fun.
They give you their credit card once,
Yeah,
one time.
one time, and it wasn't touched. It hasn't been touched since. But they know what their people wanted. They know
They
what
know
their
what plants
base
crave.
wanted. And they have electrolytes. It is what we craved, and they gave it to us every time.
It's
So
so good.
although this is the last major update, they'll still be working on hot fixes, patches, things like that. But
Keeping the game relevant.
what a thing to go off on. I mean, giving us all the new subclasses, giving us I know the Oathkeeper one was a big drag for a lot of people there. That they fixed that. It's just gonna be fun. I you love to see it. This is like just a perfect sundown of a game that didn't overstay its welcome, is still very much in demand, is still very played, and they just added a fuckload of replayability to this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's dope.
So just shout out and hats off to Larian. If I could nominate you guys for Game of the Year again, I would fucking do it
Why can't you?
because they're not up for it, buddy.
They should be, just like
They,
Elden Ring is.
they should be. They should be. Well, see, that's where it comes in. It's because this isn't a DLC. This is just somebody taking care of their fucking game.
Oh, they should just put a name on it and
So
say, "Hey, it's a DLC." Now it can run a Game of the Year somehow.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, but
Baldur's Gate 3-2 reroll.
Mhm. All right. Speaking of Game of the Year, let's go ahead and talk about Press Start the Game Awards that we do each and every year before the official Game Awards, which takes place on December 12th this year. So, in this episode, we're just going to go over all of the nominees for each of the categories that we have created, and then we're going to discuss on like some games that we think that may get swapped out or got snubbed or whatever we may think on that. But and then following up on next week's episode on the 8th, that's when we will reveal our official winners in all of the categories. And then on the 12th, we will be covering the show live here on the Press Start podcast. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and kick it off with best music and sound. So the 6 games that I put together here on this list is Astrobot, Metaphor Refantasio, Stellar Blade, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Black Myth Wukong. So Roger, I'm gonna kick it to you first. Is this a solid list, or you think there should be a different game on the list and take one out? Um,
So, best music and sound. Honestly, this year I'm not sure what we should put in for best sound. Like, I don't nothing this year I played was like, "Whoa,
mhm,
that was it right there. They did it."
yeah.
Like nothing to me screamed great sound design this year.
So overall, staying with the list here.
Yeah, I think I like what you have for this list, what we've chosen.
Cool. And Scott, any game you want to sub in, sub out?
No, there's been a lot of talk about Silent Hill 2 in this category.
Hmm.
I would maybe sub that for Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Okay.
But other than that, I think it's a good list.
Yeah. So yeah, I would argue to keep Black Ops 6 because of the technology that they actually implemented into the sound. It's probably one of the most realistic sounding games, period. And like what they did with like the depth of sound. I know Warzone right now is having issues, so I know that's where a lot of people lose them here for this. But I like to just say we're looking at Black Ops 6 and Warzone is separate, and just the you can tell the depth of how far somebody is running because of how the sound bounces off the walls that are in the game, and not many games did it. But they did like a breakdown video of like how they implemented this new technology into this Call of Duty. It's the first one to have this. So that's why I would argue that's in. I would probably sub it out for Stellar Blade would be mine if we were to sub in Silent Hill 2.
That's fair.
That would be my
That's fair.
argument.
That sounds like a lot of technology and a lot of money when into something sounding
Mhm.
exactly as it used
Shout out
to
to
in the last
Microsoft because
Warzone.
Microsoft
In
helped
the
them.
last Warzone. No, I wasn't done.
Oh.
I wasn't done. That's a lot of technology and money went into it, making it sound exactly like it did in the last Warzone. Is really what they did there. Like I I I I noticed really no difference
Yeah.
in the depth of, can I tell if this person's coming closer? How close are they based off of the footsteps? Because all of that was already previously there for me. So although they might have used a different or newer technology, or a quote unquote better technology, um,
I can't
it
tell a
doesn't
difference.
it doesn't it there's really no difference um here on my end of things, at least my personal opinion on that.
Yeah.
So I think this was just, if anything, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was just, hey, here's all the things we're already bringing. How can we try to maybe upgrade it a little bit? And it seems like they spent a lot of money for not a lot of effect on the hearing end of that.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough.
Now, I mean, with that said, we can also get rid of Stellar Blade and put Silent Hill 2 in there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, that's it.
So, in the end, I would say that obviously we're gonna pick our winners later. But I feel like Senua's Saga was a standout to me, just because of like I don't know if either one of you guys have played it, but like just listening to the voices in your head and how they echoed and bounced around and how they determined like whenever you would look a certain way and just like the audio cues that are in that game basically signifies like are you going the right way, this is how you're going to solve the puzzle, also with audio cues and just like the grim music that was playing in the background or like the Celtic type of music that was playing too. It's like I feel like they did really phenomenal. Like this game's gonna go really way under the radar when it comes to awards, but at least it did get nominated for this one specifically in the overall game awards, and I'm glad that we can at least include it in our nominees as well. Any last inputs on the best music and sound category?
Shout out the Yard Tree. There you go. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Moving on here is to the best action adventure. So compared to the regular game awards, they have action adventure, and then they just have like action game. I said fuck it, it's all the same category. So for our nominees that I put together on a list, we have Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Star Wars Outlaws, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Kick it to you, Scott. First, any game you want to sub in, sub out, or is this a pretty solid list for you?
Well, knowing that there's a best action adventure and a best action, there's some that I would remove from this list, such as Space Marine 2, Black Ops 6. As far as the action adventure category goes, if we're combining the two, obviously they would stay. I wouldn't make any subs necessarily, but I'm still gonna have to give it to The Legend of Zelda. We didn't hear much after it had launched, but it was still very much hyped, and a lot of people did love that game. Um, so in the action adventure category, I will have to go with Echoes of Wisdom because you do have some action and some adventure in there.
Fair enough. What about you, Roger? Is this a solid list, or are you subbing in and out on any of the games?
I'm actually gonna say exactly what he did here, and I know it's not any different, but yeah, if we're talking about action, we're talking about Space Marine 2. That was the action game this year. Nothing came close. Call of Duty, not even in the same hemisphere, okay? It hands down. But if we're talking about adventure, like an adventure game, Space Marine 2 wasn't it. It was a Left 4 Dead style game. You went through a map and it was one path and you went through that path. It wasn't an adventure. It was a hack and slash action game. But if we're going adventure, it's definitely Legend of Zelda for me this year, and I don't think there was any other adventure game that truly did better than it. I thought it scratched every itch. It did what a Legend of Zelda game needed to do. It was new and innovative as well, so it wasn't like you were playing the same Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah, in which we also know that that game wasn't even on the whiteboard of being created because like this game was a dungeon creator game that eventually turned into a new Zelda game.
Yeah, they
So
took all the dungeon creation tools and just said, okay, what if we make you do it in first person? And then you're just solving puzzles. Oh, it's Legend of Zelda all of a sudden.
Well, what if we made Zelda a girl? And they did, and that's huge for the representation.
oh wait, you
Yeah.
actually played as Zelda.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
So overall, though, you guys recommend maybe we can even switch it between now and then, splitting up the category between action and adventure, or just change it
I
to
would
action.
probably because so when you look at something like Warhammer 40k up against Legend of Zelda in an action adventure category, you're like, fuck, that's really hard. But if you split them into their own categories, and kind of mirror how they will be doing it, the winner is clear in both.
Yeah, that's fair. Keep that in mind. Maybe we can make some adjustments for this year. If not, we'll just make the adjustments for next year. All right, moving on here to the best RPG category. We got Dragon's Dogma 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantasio, Black Myth Wukong, Dragon Age the Veilguard, and Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. So kicking it to you, Roger. Good lists, or are you subbing in and out on any of these games?
I don't think that anything needs to be subbed. I just think it's there's a clear definitive winner, I think, in this case. Metaphor, honestly, it's an Atlas game, so you can already tell the quality going into it because Atlas hits on all cylinders. Like I've I've never been disappointed with an Atlas game. Now playing Persona 3 for the first time at one point, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I like this," because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But
Mm,
like Atlas just hits. And I think this is an RPG. This is truly the epitome of what a good RPG is. Don't get me wrong, we've got things like Dragon Age, which is a RPG. It's a great RPG. You build a character, you jump into an action adventure. It is Dungeons and Dragons, essentially. Same with, like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. You're building a character, you're following their story, you're developing your characters. I think they're great choices. I don't think there would be anything I would change in this category. It's just there's a clear winner in my book.
yeah. What about you, Scott? Subbing in and out, or do we got a solid list like Roger said?
No, this is a great list. This is probably one of the more complete lists that we have here rolling into this. Wouldn't make any subs because all of these are really good contenders. But there is a very very clear winner, and that's going to be Dragon Age. No, no. so
Yeah,
so
that's
my,
fair.
my vote is for Dragon Age. And although ReFantazio has gotten so many good reviews, I wouldn't be upset if ReFantazio had won. However, I think Dragon Age it has the brand. It had the expectations that it had met, and it had the expectations that it had exceeded.
Yeah, the problem
Uh,
though with it is just the scores are just so vastly different from audience. Like people are given a 70% for Dragon Age, whereas like Metaphor 98, 97%.
Yeah. And like I was saying, like before the show, like it has a 94 Metacritic, which is tied for first place
Number one for the year.
for the year as well. But yeah, I definitely agree. I haven't played the official game, but I played the demo for quite a few hours, and I was just like, this game is insane.
It
Like
slaps cheeks, bro.
this game is a must play for me in 2025 because 2025 is the year that I'm going to be playing much longer games. No more trying to beat 52 games and having time for the long ones. So really looking forward to that one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to. So I kind of put together like a category because there weren't too many exciting ones this year, I would say. But I think by combining these three specific genres of sports, racing, and fighting games into one collective category, I still think that there's a clear winner here, in my opinion, just based on like most sold, most excitement, most anticipated, like most supported, and that has to be college football 25. I see you guys are taking different stances here, but I just feel like you said about metaphor in the last category. That's how I feel about um college football. Tekken 8, I know it was a big fighting game, cool. Test Drive Unlimited, there wasn't that many racing games this year, so it was probably one of the best. Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, it was just going to run on its name alone. Wasn't the greatest. If it was part of Hogwarts Legacy, we'd be talking about something totally different. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero would be the second game here where I think it competes with college football because of how excited Dragon Ball was. Like that really gave the excitement of playing like the original Budokai games from the PS2 days. But last but not least, I feel like MLB The Show 2024 is just a consistent, great sports game year in and year out. So that's where I came together with the list here of mine. But Scott, let me kick it to you first. Here is this a solid list? Or are we swapping in and out on any of these games?
so I think there's inherently an issue when we combine the genres. If there's very clear genres there, um, keeping them that way is better. I understand why. Like this is like your potpourri. Like, hey, outside of action, adventure, RPG, what was your favorite other game? Which I get. But once again, when we start getting into this, like there's 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 clear sports games, there's racing games, there's fighting games, and keeping them as their own is huge. But even outside of this list, I don't think it's a bad list at all. Um, I would say with the I wouldn't say the addition of Forza just because of the things that they've been doing, because that's not really a new game.
Right.
But outside of this, it's got to go to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero for me.
Yeah.
It's if we're going based solely off of this list, I know plenty of people that say, "Hey man, I just picked up MLB The Show. Hey, I just picked up EA College Football," and then they were like, "Holy shit, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero! I can't wait to play that game." And I can't think of one person who went and said, "Hey, I'm gonna stop playing Sparking Zero for a little bit and go play MLB The Show."
Right.
Because that Sparking Zero was the quintessential game. It brought back, like you said, a lot of nostalgia for a
It
lot of
returned to
players that used to
formula.
play the Budokai. It was a return to formula, and it was everything that made the Dragon Ball fighting games great in the first place.
Hmm.
And that's the original cocaine before they got rid of that. And
Yeah.
never mind, that was Coca-Cola. Um, so
Oh man.
I don't agree with the combining of the list here.
Mhm.
With the list that we currently have, I don't think there's a lot of substitutions to be made. Um, and without the substitutions, if these were all split back into their own genre again, there are some very clear victors. I think college football 2025 was a huge success this year.
Mhm.
Um, I think Test Drive, the Solar Crown, was once again excellent racing game. But for me, it's going to be Dragon Ball Sparking Zero as the fighting game coming out of here.
Yeah. So Roger, before I move on to you, a quick rundown on from the Game Awards and why I end up combining these. So they have a best fighting category, and it included Dragon Ball, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, Marvel versus Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, which is just a bringing back all of the old games that already existed. So I couldn't include that. Multiverses, which we all know is like might as well be a dumpster out next to my building. And then the last one was Tekken 8. So there was only two of the games from that
It
list that
was
was
it
like,
was a quiet year, honestly, for fighting games. Like we had the big hits last year, and this
yeah,
year is a labor of love. It's a year of labor of love. That's
yeah,
that's what this year is for fighting games, racing games. It's been quiet on all fronts because we had the big hits last year. We're
right.
waiting, Forza, it's Forza Motorsport is
Was last
last
year,
year.
yeah,
Same with Gran Turismo, what 2 years ago now.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so
it.
like talking about like with the Game Awards, so they had a best sports slash racing category that included F1 24, EA Sports
Mhm.
25, or EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K 25, Top Spin 2K 25, and WWE 2K 24. And I'm like, I feel like most of these games shouldn't even be considered. Like I
It,
didn't think any
it's
one of those
honestly a
five could be
quiet year.
considered. So
Yeah,
that's
it's a
why
quiet year.
that's why it led to me combining the categories and pulling out some of these like I think heavy hitters of the year.
Yeah, and honestly, I really didn't hear much myself from anyone about Sparking Zero, but I heard my friends talking about Tekken 8 a lot. So
Mhm.
that's why I gave it to Tekken 8 personally, was just because I heard the community saying that it was doing well. But looking at reviews, on the other hand, if we look at just purely number standpoint, Sparking Zero wins.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, definitely compared to the rest of the games, except for college football. I think college football is still the most sold game of the year, if I'm not mistaken, which is crazy to think about. But I mean, that happens when a game hasn't been released in 10
It's
years.
a nostalgia grab for a lot of people
Yeah,
because
I mean, I
what
loved it.
is the first year back in a while?
Yeah, since 2014, like I literally was
Oh,
playing college football at 14 in my dorm room at Shippensburg University. Like, it was
hmm
the game to play.
Now, if there was a category for games that should have been live service, then yeah, 100%. I would absolutely put my hat in the ring for college football 2025.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like when you break these apart, there's really not a lot. Like fighting games
At
going to go
least
to
in my
Tekken 8 or
opinion,
Sparking Zero, and
because
that's a toss up at best.
yeah, because you stepped away. I was explaining to Roger why I consolidated these categories because the Game Awards was including games that I don't even think should even have been thought about for a nomination. Like Multiverses, for instance, was nominated for Best Fighting Game of the Year, and I'm like, I
Well,
think
I
it's a
mean, there was
dumpster
only
outside.
4 of them the entire year.
Yeah, so it's like,
So
yeah, let's combine these categories and move on. Next year, we'll hopefully get better luck. But let's go ahead and move on to our specific category that we like to call Best Proper Pooper, which is best mobile game for people who don't understand. Um, this one was kind of tough because I feel like there wasn't like as big as the mobile market was, there wasn't really a lot of games to even put on this list. And I also have a game on this list that it's been out for a while, and that's Pokemon Go. But like with the constant updates and reinvention of the wheel and reinventing itself, I was like, I mean, why not, right? So that's why I think we can substitute that one out for sure, without a doubt. But
Oh
we
yeah.
got Pokemon
Yeah,
TCG
100%.
Pocket. TCG Pocket was a big one. Balatro was it's on console, it's on PC, but like it's on mobile, and that's how I've been playing it, and that's been like the perfect fucking like mobile game to play for me. But I know a big one is Endless Zone Zero. AFK Journey was also huge, and Star Wars Hunters is another one that I really enjoyed. It's kind of like Overwatch, but with Star Wars characters, and I was playing that a lot on my phone, along with the Switch as well. So that's how I landed on those categories. I'm already personally saying that I think we should substitute Pokemon Go, but what for? Don't know as of right now. But Roger, how's this list? Are we subbing in and out? Tell me about it.
I got no skin in the game for proper poopers, man.
There's not one that you
My
play on your
proper
phone.
Yeah, I play Eidolon, and that is not even on the list. It is a mid-tier, it is like a mid-size game.
So let's before we move on to Scott's thing, let's so they have their category on the Game Awards, best mobile game. And their nominees were AFK Journey, Balatro, Pokemon TCG Pocket, and then the last two were Withering Waves, which we actually talked about earlier from Kuro Games, which was just acquired, and then Zenless Zone Zero. So I mean, if we want to sub out Pokemon Go for Withering Waves, which sure, but I know this much about the game. It's hard to nominate it for anything. I haven't heard a peep. It's not been in the games industry at all until I saw it here on the list. I was like, what is this game? But nonetheless, Scott, how's this list for you? Are you subbing out Pokemon Go?
Okay, I was like, I'm gonna raise my hand, so I'm just gonna start saying. So Pokemon Go shouldn't be in here, and there's a very specific reason. Whether we sub or not, it doesn't belong in here because it requires movement. It
So
requires
can't
you
poop while
to
playing.
it requires you to be just moving out at some point. I personally would probably sub this with Evolving Bombs, and nobody knows what that is, and that's because it's one of those games that shows up in ads every once in a while where the bomb drops, and it's like you hit ×2 or -50 bombs, and every time the ad gets me, I'm like, why would that fucking moron pick -50 bombs?
They
And
got
I'm
you.
like, I was like, fuck that, I'm playing this game, and then I do that, and then I do that very, very often, and man, if we're talking in the world of DCMAs. Evolving Bombs is it because like the first final boss is King Kong, but it's this absolute shitty sock puppet of like a King Kong, and then after that is Godzilla, and then you have fucking Pennywise from It for some reason, just dumb shit. Anyway, I digress though. I don't think Pokemon Go should be in here. Whether we sub it with anything, we can, but I don't think there's really a reason when
Get
we're
that shit
looking at.
out of here.
Well, when we're looking at Pokemon TCG Pocket, Balatro, AFK Journey, Star Wars Hunters, Endless Zone Zero, like there's nothing else to really kind of put in that list that's gonna really be consequential at all. I think we all are voting for the same game on here at this point because regardless of all of the shit that I had to say about it in the earlier in the episode, it still is the proper pooper. And then I'm just kind of like, oh my god, do you guys remember when I was like super hyped about that Lord of the Rings game and it became irrelevant 2 days after launch?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I think 2025 might be a pretty big year for mobile games because there's a couple of them coming out even in December, but in 2025 specifically that are, I think, going to be pretty big. Yeah, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp Complete, Infinite Nikki, Monument Valley 3 comes out, which I know I played the first two games. Phenomenal game. Destiny Rising, which is coming out next year. So I think 2025 will be the year. Also, Flappy Bird is going to be re-releasing in 2025. Sorry. Um, so I think 2025 might be a pretty solid year for this category. But yeah, I think we should swap out Pokemon Go, but what it is, we'll find out next week. But let's go ahead and move on to I created a new category, and I think this category is collectively being agreed on across the games industry that should be in the Game Awards, and that is for Best DLC. And you can rename this however you want: DLC, expansions, updates, add-ons. Don't care how you want to name it.
The
simplifying here.
continued support,
Yeah.
labor of love.
Yeah, but there's a difference between live service because we
Best
should
Larian,
we
best
should have a
Larian
best
patch.
we should have a best live service category as well. But best DLC where you actually fully release a massive expansion like Erdtree, which is first here on Elden Ring Shadow of Erdtree, which is first here on the list. Then you got Destiny 2, The Final Shape, World of Warcraft, The War Within, Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, Final Fantasy 14, Dawn Trail, and Final Fantasy 16, The Rising Tide. So this was a pretty big year, honestly, for game expansions. I
It was
feel like
the year of MMOs.
I think it's a clear cut winner in my opinion on what should win this one, but I think you guys big different. But how's this list to you guys, and should we sub in and out? Kick it to you, Roger, first.
I've been hearing great things about the new World of Warcraft expansion, and that's why I chose it. Honestly, I've slept on Destiny. Like I don't hear much. I heard so much coming out of Shadow of the Erd Tree, and then I listened to my friends talk about it, and it was quiet. It was super quiet. Like
Mhm.
it is a 70% on Steam right now. Like recent and all-time reviews. Like
Mhm.
it just didn't sound like it hit on all cylinders. It added a lot, but it just didn't do and I think it might have been because it was what it was built off of, because Elden Ring was great, but it wasn't the best Dark Souls game yet.
Fair enough. So then we're keeping the list as is, no subbing it out.
I'm not subbing anything for best DLC. I think DLC, honestly, those were the big ones. We've got the MMOs, we've got Diablo, like all these different live services. If anything, you know, yeah, that's where I'd leave it.
Yeah. What about you, Scott? Are you subbing in and out, or are we sticking to the list here?
No, actually, kind of just to agree almost wholeheartedly with what Roger had said. The list is great, and I would throw my hat in for Vessel of Hatred. I made that last minute change maybe about 10 seconds before we started talking about this. But the reality is, Shadow of the Erd Tree, 70%. But I think a lot of that is because people were disappointed because of their expectations,
Mhm.
not because of the actual content of the game and what was provided.
Right. I feel
Um,
like one major negative to Erdtree right now is that you have to play to a certain point in the regular base game to be able to even access the expansion.
well, that's how DLCs are supposed to work, so I understand why people might be upset with that if they can't get past the first guard when they get
I
out of their
mean,
fucking
it's
tomb.
like saying, I want to play World of Warcraft, The War Within. Okay, well, now beat all the other content to get there.
Not beat all the
What?
other content, but get the fuck out of the starting area, maybe. Yeah. Like there's gotta be a level of investment into the game.
Yeah.
Like if they were like, hey, you can start War Within after you're like level 20 and that's when you can reach the content, that's understandable.
Yeah.
That's understandable. You don't just fucking hop in and get your goddamn Blood Knight and fucking happen. They already
World
tried
of
that.
Warcraft did that though.
People
They're
pissed
like,
off
yeah, you
about
start
it.
off with like a
Yeah,
max level character. Here, go play the
a
new
level
DLC.
55, a level 55 Death Knight. They already tried that. People were fucking pissed. It was great. I loved it. I would fucking go back and do it again 100 times. It was amazing.
That was the last expansion I played for a while.
But yeah, so the whole purpose of the DLC was to add on to something that you had already done. Like, hey, you've beaten the game. Here's some extra content. Not, oh, you just wanted to start the game. Here's all of the content that anyone has ever been given, regardless of accomplishments in the game. So yes,
Yeah.
the War Within, I did hear great things about those. So I do side with Roger as far as the fan base and the reception of the DLC. The War Within has been fantastic, but so has Diablo 4's Vessel of Hatred. A lot of people are still playing that. People that I didn't even consider like MMO or like top down game players, and they were big fans of this. There was some hiccups there with some of the other stuff that they had been doing in Diablo 4, but after Vessel of Hatred hit, a lot of people were just really, really, really happy about this.
Mhm.
So no substitutions here, but my clear winner for me is going to be the Vessel of Hatred.
Yeah, both of you guys kind of convinced me to change my vote from Elden Ring, just because I did not play any of these DLCs, so I can't have a clear cut personal opinion. I have to base off of he said, she said, and I know like listening to a lot of gaming podcasts, I follow the games industry very, very close, and Diablo 4 has been talked about probably the most outside of Shadow of Erdtree, just because of, uh, but in a positive manner, as opposed to Shadow of Erdtree has been very, very complicated and just like controversial in a lot of ways. Where like yeah, World of Warcraft, the War Within was also really good because their marketing campaign that they were doing really good. I'm drinking fucking Mountain Dew Game Fuel. What is on my can right now? It is War Within. This is my World of Warcraft, the War Within Xbox partnership. So like they've been doing really well with their marketing campaign. Same thing with Diablo because Diablo is on the other game fuel, the purple one. I forget the flavor it is. So like they've been doing really well. This game is in front of you at all times. People are talking about this game, both of the games left and right. But I just feel like I've heard more about Diablo 4, so that's probably where I'm gonna cast my vote. But we'll definitely find out the winner next week.
Well, none of it's gonna matter anyway for Shadow of the Erdtree because that's gonna win Game of the Year, so it's not even gonna be in the DLC
Oh man,
category.
don't get my blood boiling right now, okay?
We got 5 categories left. Let's go.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on
Man's
to
like,
I
"Fuck
think
this."
probably one of the most exciting categories because this is a part of the games industry that is flooded by thousands upon thousands upon thousands of games. But which ones shine the brightest is really where like this is where you can really shine, right? And we're talking about best indie game. So the list that I kind of put together here was Animal Well, Neva, Balatro, Creatures of Ava, Nine Souls, and The Plucky Squire. Obviously, some of these are biased because they're games that I played and beat, but I also know like how well they've been received and how well they've done. But Roger, I know that there's some games that you would probably want to sub in versus subbing out as well. So is this a
Yeah, I
list that
just
you're?
added some here. So like Botany Manor honestly was probably my favorite indie game of the past few years recently. I don't know why
Hmm.
but there was something about it that was truly just a lot of fun. I really just wanted to keep playing and I didn't want to put it down. So I'm not sure what I would replace it with because I didn't really have a good idea about the other games. I didn't play a lot of them this year, but
Hmm.
Still Wakes Deep I thought was an interesting one that deserved a, if not on the list,
Honorable mention.
a honorable mention. I don't think it deserved to win, but it definitely set the tone for what we can get out of the industry. Like, yeah, it's an indie game, so we could expect some issues like staring eye to eye with some monsters while sitting underneath literally just inside a cabinet, and you just stare at the monster and you're like,
He doesn't see me.
"Hi," and he doesn't see you. Yeah, no, there are moments where you're like, there's a little, you have to suspend your disbelief, but like I thought it overall was an interesting game. The ending wasn't my cup of tea, but you liked it.
Yeah, it was definitely an enjoyable experience, and just like I think what it could have done better too is like have a little bit more exploration because if whenever you did try to explore it would tell you like, oh, we're not going that way, or we shouldn't go that way, and it wouldn't let you go that way. So it's like straightforward, straight path. But then it was like nice to just enjoy like a straightforward linear story. Then to
I
that
just
point
wanted to
because
play the game through,
yeah,
I
the,
wasn't looking for extra content.
I definitely enjoyed the ending just because like we always end up with happy endings in video games, and this wasn't one. Obviously you can have good endings, bad endings, like when there's branching storylines, but like this was a one storyline way of playing the game, the only way of playing the game, and it had the same ending, and it ended bad regardless, no matter what. So that's why, yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think it was probably our best indie game of the year, but it's definitely right there, right on the line. But Scott, I'm gonna kick it to you here. We subbing in and out. Are we sticking to the list? Talk to me here.
I would sub. I would, to be honest, even after the conversation we had just now. Well, when I say we, I mean you guys. Um, Botany Manor and Still Wakes the Deep is a huge indie game. A lot of people have been playing that, and both of you guys played that,
Mhm.
if I'm not mistaken, and both of you guys gave that just basically exemplary reviews. I would probably swap that for Animal Well.
Okay.
And then Botany Manor, I'm not very, very well versed on.
It's
By that I mean
basically
I'm
like
not
a
well
game
versed at
about
all.
plants, and you're just
Not
solving
even a
puzzles.
little,
It's a very
not even a
interesting.
little versed. But I would probably swap that for Neva, honestly.
Okay.
Uh, both of these after they came out, like when you look at Neva and Animal Well in the face of Balatro, Creatures of Ava, Nine Souls, and Plucky Squire, um, these 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 weren't as good as the other four. However, Body Manor and Still Wakes the Deep can hold a candle to the other four. So I would probably, at the very least, I would swap Animal Well with Still Wakes the Deep, and an argument could be made for Neva and Body Manor. With that said, it doesn't matter because Belatra takes it.
I probably gonna have to agree on that. Just with
With that said, it doesn't matter because Belatra takes it.
just how big that game is. Yeah, I was looking back at some of my reviews. So like, yeah, Still Wakes the Deep. I did give a 9 out of 10. This game was through and through like a really great game, and like I would probably potentially sub this out for Animal Well just because I haven't played Animal Well. This was a PlayStation exclusive, but it recently came to all other platforms. Um, so maybe it's losing somewhere, like not enough people played it, kind of thing. Um, and I can also probably say the same thing about Nine Souls. Like I know it was a really talked about game, but we could slide in either Botany Man or even Still Wakes the Deep into those two. Creatures of Ava, I would love to keep it in that just because of like the game was pretty big even for an indie game, and just what it did and the story that it told was just a really phenomenal experience. And then I've already talked about Plucky Squire twice over the last 2 weeks. And then I talked about Neva, I think, twice already in previous episodes on how beautiful that game was and how emotional and how many heartstrings they were really pulling at. So it's hard to sub that one out too. But yeah, I think ones that I'm not really attached to are those that I didn't play, and that is Animal Well and Nine Souls. But I do plan to play them next year because they're indie games, smaller games I can get to. In the same breath that I'll still be playing longer games. So maybe next week we can swap those out and we'll figure out a winner on that one. All right. And actually, before we move on, maybe I just want to discuss with the Game Awards specific categories. So like they have best independent game and then they have best debut indie game. I for some reason cannot distinguish what is the difference between the two categories. Best independent game is described
Debut
for
indie game is about the a studio's first game, I would assume.
okay.
Yeah,
For
that
the best
it would be a studio that came together and made their first game, and that was their
okay.
debut game.
Thank
So
you.
it's not a debut in. It's not that the game is. I
It's
mean,
like It
it
Takes
is.
Two.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
Takes Two wasn't a debut. It
Right.
was, but it
Just
was
best
still an
indie
indie
game.
game.
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that one
That makes sense.
basically.
All right, let's talk about a category that we have created that we also the rest of the games industry wish also exists, and that is best remake slash remaster. And this was a year of them, and there was tons of them like left and right. And the ones that I kind of picked here were really solid ones. I mean, they some of them were talks for game of the year, which the world is like, no, let's not do that. But here nor there. Silent Hill 2, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons remake, Last of Us 2 remastered, and Dead Rising Deluxe remastered. Man, it's a really fucking solid list of great games that were remastered. But Scott, are we subbing in and out on any of these, or are we sticking to the list?
Really don't think we are on this. This is a solid list. Silent Hill 2 had a lot of amazing reception. Thousand Year Door, the same. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a massive success when it dropped. Tale of Two Sons remake was just as well. Like everything here has been welcomed so so welcomingly. So everything here has been just like received so well that it's really hard to think of something outside of these six that had gotten just as much reception or like just as much as like hype. And this is a very very solid list that I think we've got here, and I really once again go with the industry standard, but I really do hope that best remake remaster does become an industry standard, because a lot of people like a lot of games get lost because of the remakes,
Mm.
um, and that shouldn't be the case because there's a lot of effort that goes into that. A lot of people put their time, their effort into remaking these games or remastering these games, and man,
It's
can't wait to
almost
see.
like if they're not going to create like a best remake remaster category, it's almost as if like how we were just talking about the indie game and then best debut indie game. It's like best like game of the year and like best debut game of the year or something like new IP like where it's considered like game of
Yeah,
the year and they hold the same value. Where like obviously game of the year is the best possible award that you can win at the event. But I think they definitely got to work something out because like a lot of games where like, hey, they were Game of the Year in 2005, and then we remade it 15 years later. Now it's winning Game of the Year again. It's like you
There's
already
no
told
point.
that
There's no point
story.
in that. You shouldn't have that. There should be like a Game of the Year if it wasn't a remake category,
Yeah.
and then just go from there. Because what we were talking 2 years ago for Resident Evil 4
hmm
for how fucking close that was.
Yeah.
And like some of this stuff, like they're amazing in their own right. And like I think being recognized, and this is me personally speaking, I think being recognized as a remake and a remaster of the game would speak more than being a game of the year for a game that probably already got game of the year, because that's really what they're kind of fucking remastering at this point.
Right.
Um,
Because
but
they're easy cash grabs. Like these companies already know that this game was a
yeah,
success 15 years ago. Let's remake it and print more money. And we
yeah,
know that this trend isn't ending anytime soon. There's going to be a lot more remakes, a lot more remasters because making games is expensive, but making a game that has already been made before is a
Is
lot.
less expensive.
It's less expensive. So henceforth, why they're doing it. Sony is in the works of making a shit ton of remasters and remakes, even if it was 2 years old. Like they're still doing it.
well, it's like remakes and remasters should stand on their own pillar because, like you just said, we're getting so many of them. That's not going to stop. But who made the best remaster? Who did the best remake?
Mhm.
That's stuff that should really be like touted and like held to that standard. Like, oh, you upgraded the graphics on a 20-year-old game? Fucking game of the year. Like, no, that's dumb, right? Like, we can all agree that that's fucking dumb.
Yep.
But like in the land of remakes and remasters, like, hey, there was 27 games that got remade or remastered this year, but out of those, you guys did the best job. You fixed mechanics, you fixed bugs, you fixed
You
the
added
graphics,
content to the game that
you
wasn't in the
added
original
content.
that
Like,
was better.
and sometimes you made the story more like you made the story more complete. You made it easier to follow, like things like that.
Kind of
Well,
like what
That would
Final
be
Fantasy
its
VII
own.
is doing.
I think there's something to be said though for remakes where you literally just say, okay, we have an idea for a game that's already been done. We did it once.
Concepts
But
of an idea.
let's do it again. Like Final Fantasy VII, for example, Rebirth. They had a game, but it is nothing like the original. It is a whole different thing. But then there's something like Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. It's literally the same game with updated graphics and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like or The Last of Us 2 remastered. It's just a remastered. Does it
Yeah.
really?
There's
I
definitely a
think
difference between
honestly,
remaster versus remake. That's
yeah,
without a
like
doubt.
remakes honestly deserve way more credit. 100 times, 1,000 times more credit. Like Persona 3 Reload, that kind of falls in that middle territory where it honestly, yeah, they didn't remake the game, but it was enough of an improvement to almost be a whole new game.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely, it's a weird spot, but I think it does devalue new games. Now the only thing I have to say about this is you have to have enough good new games, and I think this year we did. We had the clear and definitive winner of Game of the Year. There's only one good choice.
Yeah,
And yeah, yeah, exactly. So and I think uh I think there are definitely, like, even Marshmallow's right here. Like, it's kind of like how we only got Final Fantasy 12 versus Final Fantasy Zodiac Age. Like, what they did for that update really wasn't much. Like, it all it did was unlock the ability to change your character's class from literal jump, as opposed to having to wait till later in the game to like cross spec and stuff. Where, some of these games, honestly, I would have swapped out some of the remakes and remastered. The fact that Persona 3 wasn't in here, like, I feel like our awards kind of missed out on a lot of stuff that came out in January and February.
Yeah. No,
well, and
honestly,
we had talked about that. That's a
so
huge problem.
how would we,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
if you're going to sub out, which ones are we subbing in out on the remake remaster category?
Last of Us 2 doesn't even deserve to be looked at. Brother, A Tale of Two Sons doesn't even deserve
Ooh.
any looking.
That game's like
Yeah,
night and day difference between quality. But I get it. The scale of the game then.
like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons remake is one of the lowest rating games we've talked about tonight.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
You know, it's sitting at a 67. It can't even pass the college exam right now.
That's fair. That's fair. So we're gonna swap out Brothers Tale Two
Last of
Sons
Us.
for
I would take
Persona
Last of Us 2 for
to
Persona.
Like Last of Us 2 didn't even need a remake, let's be honest. It's
It
so
didn't.
new.
Yeah, there was no
We said it,
fucking
we
need
said
for
it
a
when it
remake.
happened,
2
and we'll
years
say it
later,
again.
there was no fucking need for that.
Is there
Not
another?
even
Is there another one that
like-
we can swap out Last of Us 2 with that you guys can think of?
I don't even know what else got remade this year that, you know, it just really didn't feel like a ton of remakes this year. Like the fact that we missed Helldivers 2 for another category also baffles me.
Yeah, it kind of fucks me up.
Mm-hmm. Which one? Which one would you have? We'll circle back to that games that got snubbed, and we'll make the adjustments
But
on that. I agree.
I let's move on though, at least to best new IP before we get to the last. Let's get these last three categories done.
Yeah. So next one is best new IP. This one's basically like a debut game, but for bigger studios or even smaller studios. But we got Metaphor ReFantasio, Black Myth Wukong, Pal World, Konotsugami Path of the Goddess, Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, and Rise of the Ronin. So Roger, I'm kick it to you obviously since Scott had to step away here for a second. Are we subbing in and out or are we sticking to the list here, man?
This year, what were our new IPs? Like honestly, there wasn't a ton. We got a lot of sequels this year.
Yeah.
A
Yep.
lot of sequels. And I honestly I wouldn't swap out anything. I just feel like there's only like one or two clear definitive champions here. Like I thought Kunitsugami was okay. I thought it was interesting, but its replayability was bad. Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden, I kind of didn't hear much about from like anyone. It didn't splash very hard around me.
Mm-hmm.
It did all right. You know, Rise of the Ronin. There wasn't much of a a real hit on that one. And don't get me wrong, it was a PS5 game.
Yeah, it was a PS5
So
exclusive, so it was tough. Obviously,
yeah.
we know when games are PS5 exclusive, the sales numbers are like god awful.
And let's not even mention Pal World lest we get sued.
Right. I mean, we know how big Power World was this year. Like, it's almost impossible to not want to nominate them for this award because, like, what they were able to just create, like, they combined like Pokemon, they combined like Minecraft, they combined like all of these like games that already
Mhm.
existed into the like its new type of game and like the impact, how many people were playing it, but on top of that, how much impact it's having versus on legality issues now then too.
But like, did it stick?
I mean, it still
Who's
is.
still playing Pal World?
I don't know what the Steam charts are looking like right now, but they just announced
There's
their
very little is what I'm getting at though.
they just recently announced that there's a new island coming that's like 7 times bigger than the one we already have, and like this game's not done. It'll be around for a
Mhm.
long time. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm gonna kick it to you, Scott, since you just got back here. We're talking about best new IP. Are we keeping the list? We subbing the list? What's going on, Scott?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. I'm looking. I'm reading. I'm reading through it. After I came back and I heard the great Pal World debate of 2024. I don't think we're gonna sub anything here for me. I think that keeping Pal World as a new IP, if they win, is, I mean, that means a loss for Nintendo because that would be a new IP. No, I wouldn't. I can't think of anything I would sub off the top of my head here. Metaphor has been fucking fantastic. Black Myth took a very well-known format of a game, but made it very well, and they made the storyline very well on that. Pal World, I mean, that was just insane for the fucking 6 days that was popular. Kiritsugami, Path of the Goddess, that was actually a really good one for a while. I remember you played that as well, Vic, and you were pretty big on that when you were doing so.
Yep.
I can't think of any subs here.
Yeah, I do
I
agree with
think
Roger.
our
Like the last two in the list, Banishers and Rise
yeah,
of Ronin, could be subbed out, but it's like, well, for what?
but for what?
like there was so many
But for what?
sequels and so many remasters
Yeah,
and remakes that there wasn't that many
yeah.
like new up and coming like type of games. You're like, there needs to be a sequel to that because
You know what? I'm gonna be an asshole here. We're gonna sub Rise of. Actually, we're gonna sub Banishers, right?
Mhm.
And let's go into Donut County.
Okay.
Because
All right,
honestly,
so
that
now we
game,
move on to game of the year easily,
because,
right?
because honestly that game was hilarious, and it's a new IP, and it was indie. Honestly, it checks. Uh, if that was a Netflix movie, that would check every single box.
You just
that
keep
needed.
going. You hit every new category. You just keep going down, and the first recommendation is Donut County, Donut County,
And
Donut County.
somehow Donut County won Game of the Year that year. Uh, yeah, no, I don't think that was a. I mean, that was a joke sub, but I'm still gonna stick with it because I said it out loud. So I really don't think that there's much to sub here. I think the best new IP for me personally was Black Myth, but Refantasio was it was a smash. I'm not gonna lie. I'm only sticking with my guns because I put my name down for Black Myth. But Refantasio will probably win that category.
Yeah, because like I'm trying to look here on this even on GameSpot. They're talking about like best games of 2024, and it's like Erdtree, that's a DLC. Metaphor, it's already on the list. Astrobot, there's already a game before it, so this is a sequel. Animal Well, it's an indie game, which could be.
Yeah.
Balatro, like a lot of the indie games could clearly be in this category, but we're
Honestly,
talking about
I
more
would
like
I would probably throw Balatro in there. Honestly, instead of Donut County, I'd probably throw Balatro in there because that's gonna be
Dragon's
Yeah.
Dogma 2,
that's yeah.
Hades 2, Helldivers 2, Paper. Like a lot of these are just remakes, remasters, sequels, indie games. Like there's nothing like new. I don't know. It was definitely a tough year for I would say newer games outside of like remakes, remasters, and sequels. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and move on to the last two categories, which are probably the ones that are most exciting for. And we're going to hit it Game of the Year first. And how we kind of did it is how I like to do it specifically. I know we can debate it all we want. Game of the Year, no remakes, no remasters, and no DLC. So my list is going to be way different than probably obviously the Game Awards. We know that list is
Yeah.
filled with them and a lot of other people. But I try to pick some of like the best games that like were all around standouts throughout the year that could hold their own. And first up, we got Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which we know was a phenomenal game in my eyes until it overstayed its welcome. Um, but again, it was still a
A
really
game should never overstay its welcome, though.
yeah.
That's the thing. Like, if it's going to be game of the year, you have to want to keep playing it after you're done.
Yeah, I think it could have just been my
Agree.
mental state that I was in for that game. But yeah, I just know in the games industry, like a lot of people were like when they were playing it, they were like, this is going to be running for game of the year. Like it was in conversations all year long because this is a game that was like January, February, and they were like, this game was great, this game was great, this game was great. Just me personally,
Where's
just
Helldivers 2 on the list? Like, why is Prince of Persia here, but Helldivers 2 isn't?
yeah, it
That's
could
fair.
very well be substituted here.
A very fair question, and we will work on substitutions in a minute.
But next up we got Black Myth Wukong. Then we got Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, Metaphor Refantasio, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Astrobot. So Scott, let's kick it to you first here, talking about the Game of the Year list here. Obviously, we're already mentioning one substitution, but are we substituting any of these other ones out? And what are we putting in?
I wouldn't get rid of Prince of Persia for Helldivers 2, but I would get rid of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth for it.
I would not.
Really?
No,
Yeah,
I would
well,
Like a Dragon
that's
Infinite Wealth.
fair. All right.
No way I'd put Prince of Persia over Like a Dragon.
Okay. What about Astrobot?
No. Astrobot made huge waves.
Yep. Astrobot is tied for first place with Metaphor. for best
All right,
game.
Prince of Persia for Helldivers 2. I'll take it. That's fine.
Like a Dragon.
You drive a hard bargain, but I'll take it.
Yes.
Other than the Helldivers 2 sub, I really don't think the list needs adjusted much,
I almost
if at all.
feel like the Helldivers 2 could be substituted for Black Myth.
Don't you fucking put that in the what? Don't dude, get that fucking
I
cursor
know,
out of my
I
goddamn face.
know,
Get that fucking cursor out of my face. Do not put that in the way of
because like
Black Myth. No,
I feel
I understand. I understand you like Prince of Persia, and I understand you're very, very fucking biased towards it. Get that? No, if we're putting
no, but
Helldivers 2 in front of anything, it's not going to be Black Myth.
yeah,
For those of you
just
who
hear me out.
can't see, for those of you that can't see our active, I wouldn't say script here,
Live
our
document.
active like content document here, he just like took Helldivers and took it away from Prince of Persia and put it right in front of Black Myth, which was the dumbest thing that could have happened.
Just hear me
like-
out. Just hear me out, right?
Like, no, I'm
So-
not gonna hear you out on this.
As big as Black Myth Wukong was, the game looks great. I want to play it nonetheless. I'm waiting for it to come to Xbox. But it felt like it died after like a week. Like all of the hype, all of the talk, just died. Like it just ceased to exist. Prince of Persia, I listen to people talk about it every single
like,
week.
The reason why Black
That's
Myth
awesome. If
kind
people
of
don't want to give up a
disappeared,
game.
like it just it's a Souls-like without multiplayer, which is thank God finally. But it just did really well. Like it just I don't know how you would. I don't know. I just think you're also in an echo chamber for some of the game stuff, it seems.
hmm
There's no way that if we were getting rid of one of these between Prince of Persia and Black Myth, you get rid of Black Myth.
That's fair. And I just feel like the
Did,
bottom.
you have actively said while you were playing this game that this game overstayed its welcome, was repetitive, and wasn't as good as it could have been.
No. It's definitely fair. But I'm not trying to base all of this based on my personal playthrough of the game. It's hard. It's hard.
I
to do
am
that.
because this is our list, and this isn't
fair.
anybody else's list.
That's fair. It's definitely one of those games that like doesn't make the list, doesn't get snubbed. It should be on the list, but it's like there's only 6 spots.
So
Because we
how
know the
about a
bottom four.
world?
The bottom 4 games are clearly like mainstays. Like they're not moving.
Yeah, they aren't going anywhere. How about a world where we just add Helldivers 2?
You can't have 7, buddy.
Yes, you can.
No, it could be an
Seven's a
honorable
lucky
mention.
number. Seven's a lucky number. Don't you? Look, we're already going to talk about Helldivers 2 getting snuffed
I mean,
anyway.
why are we even talking about it when we know the winner? Like we all know the winner
Yeah, I
is
know,
clearly
yeah,
40K
that's true.
Space Marine 2.
That's fair.
I wish I can agree. I wish I can agree.
Yeah, if he replaces Black Myth with Helldivers, then yeah, 40K is gonna win for sure.
All right. So obviously we could sit here and debate Game of the Year all night long. It's one of the most decisive categories year in and year out, and it's never going to end. But I do like the conversations we're having with how do we include Helldivers, what game gets kicked, what like all that kind of stuff. So we'll finalize that for next week's winners. But let's round out the Game Award nominees here with most anticipated game. This was just my list, my personal list. I think there's some games that could be subbed out for some of the other games that are coming out next year. But the list consists of GTA 6, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Borderlands 4, South of Midnight, Doom the Dark Ages, and Avowed. Mind you, I also made this list before Ghost of Yotai was announced. So I personally believe Ghost of Yotai needs to take one of these spots. And I'm going to have to say it's South at Midnight that gets subbed out here, personally.
I was gonna say Borderlands 4.
I'm just such a Borderlands fan.
Yeah.
Borderlands 4 is just like after the movie,
Yeah, like,
zero hype.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely
there's like
fucked that up.
for it.
They
I would-
literally
I
took
would
a
honestly
steaming
say-
pile on it.
I would say Ghost of Yotai goes to Borderlands 4.
Okay.
Until such time that Borderlands 4 is actually gives us something to be fucking excited about.
All I'm saying is people salty as hell about Yotai, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Fucking
it's a
lesbian
girl.
Japanese girl. Then don't fucking play it, dude. Shut up.
Like-
like
Like female samurai are like female in Japan. female samurai and like female warriors were a huge part of their culture.
Right. Yeah,
Like-
But that's not as a
The-
hey. Look, all I'm saying is, as a white man in America, who's never had to deal with any hardships or any time travel issues, because no matter where you time travel, being a white man is awesome. This personally affects me because this doesn't seem right. God.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, and obviously I know the issues that Assassin's Creed Shadows is dealing with, like fucking up the history of Japan and people not appreciating the depiction that they're trying to make, and
Well, that was liberties taken that shouldn't have been taken. That's a different.
yeah,
It's a whole
Alright,
different.
well,
It's a whole
and
different beast.
It's okay, guys, though. We all know the most anticipated game is Avowed. It is literally Obsidian's next big game. Let's be real here.
yeah
Man,
I'm
I
excited
wish I could
for it,
agree with you
man.
so much.
Right.
I like you. I like agreeing with you a lot, Roger, because normally you're like really right. But like when it comes to most anticipated, Avowed is the most anticipated outside of Grand Theft Auto 6. Grand Theft Auto 6 has become the noise floor.
Yeah,
Or
for
hype game.
for
Like-
for non-hardcore gamers to hardcore gamers alike. I get you.
It has become, and I don't even, to be honest, full disclosure and full transparency, because we're honest to our viewers. I don't care for the Grand Theft Auto series. To be honest, I don't hate it, but it doesn't really like tickle my fancy. But
Doesn't tickle your pickle?
it does not tickle my pickle. It does not.
Mm.
Yeah.
But Grand Theft
Definitely.
Auto 6 has been the most hyped game since it was first announced. And Grand Theft Auto 6 and the people behind it have become like the noise floor of, like, here's where hype games are now, because all of this is Grand Theft Auto 6. So things like Avowed or like Doom the Dark Ages or like Assassin's Creed Shadows, like they have to spike above that. So it becomes almost as if like it's almost as if we all know Grand Theft Auto 6 is the most anticipated game, and now we're just worried about what are the other most like more anticipated
Yeah.
games. Like oh, we all know that Grand Theft Auto 6 is the most anticipated games, like outside of Elder Scrolls 6. What is the
Yeah.
most anticipated game outside of that? Oh, well, maybe Avowed, you'll see a tick for that. Maybe Doom the Dark Ages, you'll see a tick for that. Maybe South of Midnight, you'll see a tick for that. But all of that is in relation to how hype everybody has been for Grand Theft Auto 6.
So, yeah, definitely 100%. Like, if we look at this list of what's going to be the most anticipated game collectively, is without a doubt GTA 6, because it is going to be the biggest game. Like, GTA 5 is already the biggest game, period. GTA 6 is going to take its place. We already know it's the most watched trailer on YouTube. It has broken records already, and the game has only had one trailer. So we know the excitement behind it. And like you said, it comes down to, all right, outside of that, what is the most exciting? And that's why I literally just changed my vote here. I was going to go with GTA 6, but I was like, it's a no-brainer. It has to be that, right? But given that I recently bought a PS5, and the first game I bought for my PS5 was Ghost of Tsushima, the director's cut, has to lead me to, if that game is great, as great as everyone says it has been, Ghost of Yotai is going to lead to me being the most excited out of all of these games. On top of that, I think there's a game that I wanted to maybe highlight, whether it comes out next year. There's no confirmation because PlayStation has been keeping everything behind closed doors, secrecy. We have no idea what is coming from PlayStation, right? I think we could sub out one of Xbox's games, since Xbox has 3 of these games out of this list. But South of Midnight, I'm super excited for. It looks beautiful, looks great. But we know the excitement behind Wolverine, Insomniac's Marvel's Wolverine game. If that game comes out next year, that game is going to do numbers. And that's where I would like to argue that let's sub out South of Midnight for Marvel Wolverine.
You got it. I'm in.
I'll take that. Yeah, 100%.
We already seen what the movie did with Deadpool. So why not? I think this game could do exceptionally well. Insomniac never misses, ever.
That's fair.
Like it's just
They've been fucking 100% every time.
they just been spending too much money to make their games is the problem. But yeah, I think outside of that, I think we could have potentially have a solid list. Some of these substitutions make more sense than others, but we obviously know the clear cut winner is GTA 6. But like you were saying, Scott, what is the most exciting game outside of GTA 6? And that's where we got to place.
Yeah.
I think we should place
What
our
are
votes.
we excited for
Yeah.
is the real question.
Yeah.
Because,
Like
you
Scott
know,
said,
all of us
I
are sitting
barely
here
play
going,
GTA.
GTA 6 will be eh.
Yeah, because I don't play GTA games to be honest. I've never played 5. I haven't played since like the PS2 days. GTA just doesn't excite me. And I know I'm one of the very few people out there that just like, yeah, whatever. I know
You got
people
some like weird foot kink or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean GTA usually hits all the kinks.
It
No,
can.
I 100% agree. Where it's like GTA just becomes like it becomes that floor where like everyone's so hyped about that game. Like we already know that the world is hyped for this game. We already know the world wants this game. Um, it's the same joke that I've made multiple times across many episodes. Like when it comes down to like the Elder Scrolls 6, like oh yeah, we're just waiting for that.
Yeah,
Just
that'll be
like,
the next one. That's going to be
yeah.
just like GTA 6
Like
with Elder
we're
Scrolls.
just we're all just waiting for that. There's always that little hype, but above that is really where you know you guys we all get a chance to be like, yeah, maybe this is gonna be cool, and everyone else tells you to shut up. But I would like to say Assassin's Creed Shadows. I would like an Assassin's Creed that apologizes for the last one.
That's fair. I mean, the game has very promising excitement around it, like from what we have seen and what they've been trying to disclose to us and all this stuff. But like, I don't know. Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed. It just hasn't wowed us in a while. But it's also because we've had an Assassin's Creed every year since like 07. So
Yeah, that's just been a yearly like Assassin's Creed 2K25.
it's
Is
the
what we're
issue with
waiting
Call of
for.
Duty. Like, no matter how great Call of Duty has ever been in its timeline, whether we're talking about COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, it was never going to have a chance to run for Game of the Year because it's a yearly release game. So everyone's like, oh, it's just another Call of Duty. No matter how
Yeah.
great it is, it could be a 10 out of 10. But guess what? It's never going to be in the running for Game of the Year. And I feel like that's the issue here with Assassin's Creed, that it's just never going to have a chance because it's like you basically your yearly release. There was a couple years where they missed a couple, but yeah, I just think that that's the dilemma that Ubisoft is in with Assassin's Creed. But any last remarks in regards to our nominations or this episode in general?
I'm just rolling back up.
Anything from you, Roger? Nah. All right, guys. We want to thank everyone who came through and checked us out live today here on Twitch, and anyone who does check us out later on YouTube, Spotify.
You didn't ask me if I had anything to add.
Yes, I did.
I said I had to roll up. I rolled up and I found something to add.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Have a good night, everyone.
Roger, where can the community find you at, my friend?
Don't find me anywhere now. I'm here or on Discord. So find me, shout at me. I'm here.
You'd yell at him. And Scott, where can the community find you at?
You can always find me on Discord, named Scubby1, or if you want to look into my personal life and get creepy about it, my Instagram is also Scubby1.
And everyone, you can check me out at basically every social media at Mr. Never Chillin'. Some of them with an underscore, some of them not. But Xbox is X Never Space Chillin'. Facebook is Vic Brubacher. For any questions, concerns, if you want to come on the show, hit me up there. And I do stream over on my at twitch.tv/Mr. Never Chillin', where I'll be playing a lot of games. But just one quick update before we close out this week's episode. Next week's episode will be our Press Start podcast, the Game Awards showcase. So we're going to be revealing all of our official winners and from our nominations that we gave out today. And then we will be following up another show later in the week on Thursday, December 12th, covering the official Game Awards show live. But we do want to thank everyone again. And until next week, peace.
Press Start Podcast.